What's up, everybody? And it's time to get into episode 4 of Helstrom. Now, as you can tell, I'm very excited to talk about this episode because, man, this was something. But really quickly, let's just go over the synopsis. So first off, this episode is entitled Containment. And what's happening in this episode is a demonic enemy brings together an unusual group. Damon and Ana travel to San Francisco to search for Yin and the artifact that may help defeat the enemy. Ana tells Damon about her extracurricular activities, and Gabriella's faith is attacked. Now, I have got to tell you, there is some craziness happening in this episode, and the ending is so shocking. Like, I'm still at wow about how this episode ends. Like, all I can say is, like, the ending is so fitting, and now things are truly starting to get together. Because I will say, in the first 3 episodes, kind of wondering why certain things were happening, why certain things were placed, what was the significance of it. And I said that this episode truly brings like everything together that makes sense. But starting over this episode, so like I said, Gabriella is being tested by her faith to the point that she goes back to the church to do a confession because she feels it would be beneficial for her. And like I said, her faith is being challenged there. So she's going in there basically talking about the conflictions that she's having. And well, that didn't quite go exactly as planned because, well, we'll just say a demon made his presence. But the crazy thing about with this is that this scene happens. I mean, this is like one of the opening scenes of this episode. And then they come back to this later in this episode. So like the idea of them editing in this way, I thought was really interesting. And I think it's really to like give the viewers like just a glimpse of like how crazy this episode was going to be. So for a minute it threw me off because like once they kind of revisit this back later in the episode, I was like, why didn't they just put it in sequential order? But I think it really did have to do with basically setting the tone for this episode, because immediately after that, we do see the entire team getting together. Damien, he needs everybody all to come together because he wants to talk about a plan. Not to mention Damien and Caretaker, because Caretaker's part of this meeting as well too, and they haven't seen each other in a while. So they're friends of some sort to some degree, I would say. But they made it very clear that it's been a while since they've actually talked. But basically, what Damien wanted is that he brings everybody together because he realizes that they have their father may be back. And they had to figure a way out. Like, yeah, to make it perfectly clear, their father has taken a new form. He's reborn to some sort, and he's more powerful and is targeting them. So he's like, hey, what are we going to do? And Caretaker is just showing his keeps more and more and more. Because Caretaker says, like, look, he's energy. You can't kill energy, but energy can be transferred and contained. And the idea of saying that, well, maybe, just maybe, if we had a keeper, which is another demon, which this is where the skull comes into play. So we see Ana and Damon go back to San Francisco, back to Anna's job, where the artifact, the skull, is being kept, only for them to get back and to stumble upon another mess. So while the two of them go there, you have Caretaker and Gabriella going another direction, and then we'll talk about Gabriella and Caretaker now. Now, Caretaker, again, like I said, is just showing his keep. Everyone is seeing more and more of his worth, what he's up to, and quite frankly, now we get to see more of what he's actually involved with, and that's another group called the Bloods. It's been something that's been in his family for over 7 generations, and basically, they're just another group of people and how they contain and handle possessions and demon occurrences. So with that being said, like, this episode really did explain 3 different ways of how demons are handled. You have the Helstrom family and their methods. You have the church, the Vatican, and how they handle it. And then you have the Bloods and how they handle it. And they're all different. And I think they all have a little form of respect for one another, but they just handle it in different ways. I mean, the best way you can think about this almost is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Like, 2 different waves of fighting for the same thing. Although they totally don't agree with each other, they understand and respect what they're doing. So that's kind of what's happening with that. But not only just that too, going back to Ana and Damon, like, Damon has been really suspicious of Ana because he feels like she's lying about everything. She's lying about her job. She's lying about her intentions. She's lying about her mindset. She's lying about, quite frankly, everything, to the point that she completely confesses to him and says, like, look, I have this, fake auction business to kill bad people. And Damon, again, showing a contrast between the two of them, is like, well, I don't kill people, but it seems like you do. And it seems like you do it for sport and for pleasure. And this goes back into last episode where they said, like, the two of them handled their powers different. So that's clearly what they're talking about, is how Ana kind of embraces her power to kill and she gets some type of joy out of it. And Damon is reserved and only does it to try to help people, but very randomly and sparingly does he ever kill people. So, and although that may be slightly clear about Damon's intentions, they absolutely make it clear by the end of this episode when it comes down to it. Is he more of a kill first, save second, or save first, kill second? And we, again, see the difference between the two of them, which I'll talk about that in 1 second. The other really big thing about this episode is Victoria and Luis. They connect. Luis pulls Victoria out of her cell for safety precautions. Figure something was wrong. And we find out something mind-blowing about the person who is possessing Victoria, which you just have to see. But I will say, like, Victoria, I'm trying to tell you, Victoria is still one of my favorite characters, and when it comes down to, like, the performance by Elizabeth Marvel, the voice acting that's going on in here and the vocal range is so amazing, because, again, you're talking about a person who's being possessed. So you have a feminine voice. You have a really stern, dark, like masculine voice. And then you have this other range that's between the two of them. Like, she's absolutely killing it. In this episode, we've seen a lot of it. It's really, 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 really good. But my favorite part of this episode is when Luis returns Victoria back to her cell, and the ultimatum that is given by Victoria before it's trying to put her back in there is just the biggest wow of all wows. Like, I cannot believe, like, I didn't see this coming. I didn't think it was coming. But the thing that Victoria said upon trying to bargain her way out of that cell is crazy. Crazy. But nonetheless, going back into one of the final scenes, not the final scene I've been talking about, but one of the final scenes, and that goes back to Ana and Damon, where they are visited by somebody who has been pretty much stalking them for like the last couple of episodes here. And nonetheless, he's like, he tries to cut a deal. He says, because he's a demon working for the father, he's like, look, the father wants his kids back, but really he only wants Ana. So look, I'll do you a solid here. Sort of bargaining. It's a lot of bargaining going on in this episode. If you give us Ana, then we will release your mom. And you have to think about the position Damon's been in, with not really even, being really tight with Ana for so long, and then really been protective of his mama and been her sole caretaker for 20 years. Like, that was potentially a very hard decision to be made. But Ana steps in, and we see the two of them finally in some joint battle, some 2-on-1 here, and it is amazing. And the important part about this is we know Ana's ability, and we've seen glimpses of Damon's ability, but here truly shows you what Damon can do now and how it's different from Ana. I mean, it's almost a yin and yang here now. And even Ana's like, oh, so that's what you do. So it was a cool tag team up. And it puts a lot into perspective about the two characters here. So I really liked it. And then again, just the mind-blowing scene at the very, very end. All I gotta say is Victoria. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, so I really like this episode. This had a lot of action. It had a lot of ramifications for things in the future. Again, we got to see Gabriella being tested on her face. We got to see Caretaker and what establishment and what group he belongs to, and a little bit about his worth within that. We got to see sort of a interesting dynamic between Luis and Victoria. You know, the siblings doing what they got to do, but at the same time, you know, Damon getting to know more about Ana in San Francisco, about a little bit about Chris, who is Anna's co-worker, and a little bit about his background, and just a lot of good stuff that came out of this episode. So yeah, you know, episode 4 was really, really good. So I can't wait to get into episode 5. So that means I need to sign on for here so I can get to it. So thank you for watching this review, and check out episode 5 right now.